Hello, everyone. You are listening to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West, and he's nearly frozen into a popsicle because it's damn cold outside. Adam
Oh,
Carlson.
yes. Negative 45.
Yeah, it is chilly, 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 and just think we have 2 years of outdoor football to look forward
Something to
to.
look forward
I
to.
guess we don't. We get to sit at home in the comfort of our own houses with the heat cranked
But
clear
we
on.
know there's enough diehard Vikings fans to go out and fill up that stadium no matter what, so we don't got to worry about
I'm
that.
going to one game. This is my goal. I am going to at least one game at TCF Stadium. It's going to be early in the season because I don't want to freeze my ass off entirely, but I am.
Right, I don't want to sound like a
Uh-huh.
wuss either, but I am going to make a game at the Gopher Hole
Yeah.
this year. The only one I would go to is like I went this season to the Redskins game with my friend Hunter. I'd like to do the same thing.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. Met some great people. It was really good times.
I would like to go to a NFC North matchup. I would like to see the Vikings and the Packers. I think that would be a lot of
Ooh.
fun to see in person.
That crowd would be loud and riled up and rowdy and
Precisely.
all that stuff.
I want to have that experience with the Vikings.
But I'll finish up my intro
Okay.
here, and I would love to welcome everyone to episode number 83 of the Purple People podcast. This one is titled Wisenhunt for Red October.
Oh, I see what you did with that one.
Oh, yeah.
You know why? Because he's a candidate to take over our now vacant head coaching spot.
But we'll talk about that a little bit more coming up here. Let's go into our quick hints.
Quick hits.
But we could make a quick hints section and just like give people little clues to think.
No, probably not.
No? I don't think that'd go
We're
over
gonna
too
veto
well.
that one.
Oh, all right. Leslie Frazier is already employed. He was picked up as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to be their new defensive coordinator.
Mhm.
I think he'll be a great fit there, and congratulations to him on landing a job that will fit him well and that he should be quite good at. So,
Yeah.
congratulations.
That's where he belongs. Good role for him. Of course, you guys, I'm sure all know, Lovie Smith is the head coach for Tampa Bay. I would not be surprised if Leslie Frazier brings along Mike Singletary with him to Tampa Bay. I don't know what his contract status is with the Vikings, but we know how good of friends those two are. Wouldn't be shocking to see Singletary end up in Tampa Bay.
No, because I'm betting a lot of the staff will be cleaned out when the new coaching staff gets in.
Bill Musgrave.
I don't know. We'll see.
The Muskrat.
Cordarrelle Patterson. I've been writing a lot about him this week, even though there hasn't been much going on. But good stuff from Cordarrelle Patterson. He was nominated for the Pepsi Next Rookie of the Year. If you want to go on NFL.com, you can vote for that. Even if you don't think Cordarrelle Patterson's the best nominee, you can go vote for whatever rookie you want.
But you should vote for Cordarrelle Patterson, because if you're listening to the podcast, that means you are a Vikings fan, and we should support our guy.
And 2 Minnesota Vikings will be a part of the All-Pro team.
Christian Ponder.
Congratulations to Adrian Peterson and Cordarrelle Patterson. Now, Patterson made first-team kick returner, while Adrian Peterson is second-team running back.
I'm confused. Do they do kick returns in the Pro Bowl this year?
This is the All-Pro team.
Okay,
Not the Pro Bowl.
so that's different than the Pro Bowl.
Yes.
Okay, I'm even more confused, but I'm glad for the honors.
But Cordarrelle Patterson will be part of the Pro Bowl because he was brought in to substitute for Antonio Brown. Now, Antonio Brown was brought in as a specialist for being a punt returner, but he is unable to participate. So, Cordarrelle Patterson will be in there, and he will also see snaps as wide receiver, so that should be fun.
That should be a lot of fun. I'm a little bit more interested in this year's Pro Bowl than normal just because of how they're doing it. I want to see if it's going to be any more interesting or not.
You just love that they don't have kickoffs anymore. That's
I
all.
absolutely hate that. That is the single stupidest thing, because not to go on a rant here that's not about the team, but it's about the league. That's what Roger Goodell wants to do with the NFL. Like, if I firmly believe that if he likes what he sees in the Pro Bowl, he's going to try to lobby for this shit to happen in the regular season.
Now, I mentioned Patterson being a part of the Pro Bowl. Adrian Peterson will also be a part, and they will be the two representatives from the Vikings in that game. And they will join all the representatives from the Green Bay Packers.
None.
That's sad.
No, it's actually not.
And a big congratulations goes out to Cordarrelle Patterson, who was named Offensive Rookie of the Month for December.
And this is the Cordarrelle Patterson hour here at the podcast.
I know, we're just piling praise on him. Trust me, I was writing so many articles just praising this man that I was starting to get sick of it.
I can never have too much Cordarrelle Patterson.
But let's take a little distraction here from all the praise and good news, and let's talk about Aaron Henderson being arrested for his DWI. Second arrest in 2 months. Not a good sign for a guy that's going to be fighting to stay with the team.
Does not help his status with the organization one bit, especially because probably his biggest supporter, Leslie Frazier, no longer with the team.
Right, and he lost out on his job. Audie Cole took over that starting job from him.
Precisely.
And he moved back outside, and we have a draft coming up. Lots of good talent in this one. It'll be interesting to see what happens there.
I believe they'll bring him back.
The Vikings.
I believe they'll bring him back to at least training camp, preseason, see what happens with draft picks. If he gets outplayed, he'll be gone.
Yeah. The Vikings brought 6 players in and signed them to reserve and future free agent contracts. They were Brandon Bishop, Kip Edwards, Kevin Murphy, Spencer Neely, Bradley Randall, and Adam Thielen.
Kip Edwards, for a minute I thought you were talking about Billy Gunn.
Cute Kip.
Yeah, 2 people got that joke.
All right. I think we touched on that last week, too. For some reason, I remember saying those names. But I know I didn't say these 2 names, which were also signed to future reserve contracts, and that is Jordan and Samuda. Which sounds like a really interesting morning talk show.
Yeah, it does, don't it? I would listen to that on the radio.
Tune in to Jordan and Samuda live in the morning.
I'd check every 5 a.m.
That's some zany noises. Wee woo. Vikings players voted for their team MVPs. Have you seen who won on the team vote yet, Kyle?
Actually, I have not.
All right, this will be fun then. Let's have you guess. Offensive player of the year for the Vikings.
Josh Freeman.
Let's get some serious answers here. Come on.
Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Peterson. Course. Defensive player of the year.
Defensive player of the year.
As voted on by players and coaches of the Minnesota Vikings.
Chad Greenway?
Chad Greenway.
Was it? Yeah,
yep.
I figured so. I know he led the team in tackles again this season, correct?
Sure did. Even with a fractured wrist. Special teams player of the year.
That's probably Cordarrelle Patterson.
Yep, you hit on all 3.
What do you know? It's because there wasn't a lot of talent to choose from this year. Those are the pretty obvious ones.
Now, that's all we have for our quick hits this week, but our big story this week is the coaching search. Minnesota Vikings are out searching for their head coach. Lots of options out there. Vikings are interviewing a lot of candidates. They are trying to find the right guy. And some of these guys are really interesting that they brought in. Let's go through one by one and talk about each of the confirmed guys just a little bit. And talk about some of the pros and cons, whether we know a lot about them or whatever.
Sounds good. Let's go through the list.
All right, let's start out with Todd Bowles.
Okay.
The defensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals' defense was awesome this year, and it wasn't talked about very much. They had one of the stiffest run defenses in the NFL. They boasted some of the best cornerback play, in part thanks to Patrick Peterson. But he took a team that needed a lot of work on the defensive side of the ball and really helped make that happen and make it into a strong defense. So if the Vikings are looking for a strong defensive head coach, he would be a very good selection.
Exactly. And like you, I was a big fan of Arizona's defense. My concern is, do we want to go with another defensive-minded head coach?
It's not my concern at all. I think definitely.
I would be fine. I'm honestly, I'm pretty open to any possibility right now. But yeah, I like what he did with Arizona, and would like to see him or anyone else come in and shape up our defensive talent that we have on the team.
The next guy is an interesting guy because a lot of people say that the situation he was brought into was really good, and a lot of his success doesn't have to do with his own efforts as much as it was the talent around him. And that's Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, there's no doubting that the Seahawks have one of the best defenses in the league. But whether or not Dan Quinn deserves a lot of the credit for that has yet to be seen.
I don't know. I don't want to knock the guy, but like you said, they've got so much depth and talent on that team that I hate to say it'd be pretty easy to coach them, because it's not. It's a hard job to do, but
oh, definitely. I wouldn't be able to do it.
I
No
couldn't
way.
do it either, so I don't want to be taken out of context. But yeah, a lot of good pieces in place there. I don't know. I would be a little leery on that one, at least initially.
Yeah. Plus, he's another defensive coordinator, which you're not really 100%.
Yeah,
with.
we just did the defensive coordinator thing, so.
The next guy's an offensive coordinator, so you might like him.
That.
And he's the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, Darrell Bevell.
I like Darrell Bevell. You know he was a Viking once?
No.
Yeah, a couple seasons ago under some bald-headed guy that I'm trying very hard to block out of my memory. What was his...
Are we talking about the Pringles guy?
We're talking about the Pringles guy, Adam.
I like Pringles.
I like Pringles, too.
Well, Bevell, I really didn't have any problem with his play calling when he was an offensive coordinator. It was a shame kind of to see him go the way he did. And I think that he's an excellent offensive coordinator, but I'm not sure how that would transition for him into being a head coach. So that's my skepticism right there.
My thing about Bevell is I don't think he's going to take the job in Minnesota. Even though I think he would probably be a good fit and I would like him, why would he want to come back? I mean, I understand that it wasn't really the Wilfs that fired him or got rid of him, but boy, I don't know. Like, I don't know if he would want to come back to this mess. And I hate to call the team a mess, but it's been a bit of a mess.
Yeah. We got another offensive coordinator, this one for the Broncos, Adam Gase. Now, you have both sides of the coin on this one, too, because you have an offense that's particularly dominated by Peyton Manning. And is Peyton Manning playing at such a high level that he's making Gase look good?
I think so.
Or is Gase really an offensive mastermind that could really help turn this team around?
From the outsider looking in, wasn't kind of the big deal about Peyton, one of the big deals about Peyton going to Denver is that he was going to be allowed to bring his offense with him. And
he's going
to bring his offense, he's going to install his own offense. He calls his own plays, audibles, whatever you want at the line. Like, I legitimately, that's Peyton Manning that's making this work in Denver, and I'm not sold on this guy at all. Now, I don't know much about him. I don't know his credentials. I haven't even Wikipedia'd the guy, but I don't want him on. I don't want us to go that route. Not unless he brings Peyton Manning with him to Minnesota. If he does,
yeah, good luck.
If he does that, sure, come right along. Until then, just stay in Denver.
The next name's a guy that some of the fans listening will be quite familiar with, and that's Jack Del Rio, Broncos defensive coordinator.
Was he confirmed, or was he just rumored? Because I had heard both on that one.
He is a known candidate for the job.
Last I had heard that it was like a strong rumor, but I hadn't really heard any kind of confirmation on it yet.
And as much as I like Jack Del Rio, and I do, the Broncos defense didn't impress me much this year. And to be honest, I think that the Broncos defense has a little more talent in it than the Vikings did this year. And And I'm not 100% sold on the idea of bringing in Jack Del Rio.
Uh, I'm a little bit more to the. I would like to see Jack Del Rio get a shot in Minnesota. I like that. I think it'd be a cool story, him coming to the Vikings.
Oh, certainly. The story behind it would be
Yeah,
fantastic.
and he's a guy that kind of. I don't know. He kind of fits the bill, in my opinion, as to what we need in Minnesota, and that's more of a veteran coach who's been around the league for a number of years, who can come in and kind of like not so much put his stamp on the team, but someone who's going to command respect from the players right away. Now,
Well,
whether or not,
sadly, there's two schools of thought on this. Because the first school of thought is you want an established coach. But if you're getting an established coach, you're not getting an established coach that is very successful, because you're going to get an established coach that has bounced around the league a bit, that's been fired, that is currently unemployed. Now, if you're trying to get it, now if you want an unexperienced coach, you need to see how that will transition. So really, either
Yeah.
way you look at it, it can be a lose-lose situation. So, although Jack Del Rio does have the experience, I'm still not positive that it'll transition well
yeah,
to the Minnesota team. We got Browns defensive coordinator Ray Horton.
I'm not familiar with him actually. I
I'll
hate
be
to
honest,
say,
I haven't done a ton of research
Yeah.
on Ray Horton either. I know that the Browns defense was pretty good against the run this year. I know that they were near the top of the league there. And although I don't know much about their pass defense, I know that Horton himself is a guy that seems to be held in high regard in the Cleveland area. And it's good that the Vikings are at least getting an interview with him to get to know a little bit more about him.
I like kind of how wide of a path Spielman is taking at the beginning, because you're getting a few different players from a few different, backgrounds, and like you said, various levels of experience doing this or that. With that said, I don't want anyone from the Browns anywhere near the Vikings. So yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
The next guy is a guy that a lot of people are foaming at the mouth for.
Bill Cowher?
A lot of people say drooling. I'm saying foaming. Yeah, that's right. Jay Gruden, people have been begging for him since the Vikings fired Leslie Frazier. Now, he is the offensive coordinator for the Bengals. And if you watched the Bengals wild card game, you were quite possibly not very impressed.
Yeah, that didn't
with the Bengals offense there.
That didn't help his stock too much in that one. His name's been tossed around for the past couple of seasons as being, potentially a head coaching candidate. So it's nothing new.
Plus, he has pedigree.
Yes. You guys recognize the last name, right?
Definitely.
He'll get his shot somewhere in the NFL. Whether or not he chooses the Vikings, we'll soon find out, I guess.
Yeah, if you want to know more about Gruden, you can always watch Hard Knocks, because the Bengals were the team that was featured on Hard Knocks, so you get to know a lot about him there. And you could also learn about our next candidate, Mike Zimmer, the Bengals defensive coordinator. Now, Zimmer is up there on my list. He's one of the ones that I would love to see brought in, because he is disciplinarian. He takes responsibility for everything that he does. He's vocal. He's emotional. He is basically the opposite of what we had in Frazier on the sideline. And Zimmer is just a guy that I would like to see brought in. And from what I understand, he is one of the Vikings' top candidates.
I had heard that as well. And he's another guy whose name has been thrown around. He's not a flash-in-the-pan, hot offensive or defensive coordinator. It's a guy that's been around the league for a while now, hasn't had a head coaching job. But you've heard his name come up for a number of seasons as being, a guy that could potentially do it. And I would like to see him get a shot, and I believe that out of the people that we know about and that we've named, I think he's the one that they're going to probably make the hardest push to bring in.
Now, when we talk about Zimmer, we're talking about a guy that if the Vikings do bring in, he will retool this entire defense. You can kiss the Tampa 2 goodbye.
Hallelujah. That that is we need retooled on defense schematically so bad right now because I believe we've got talent on this team, but it's just we were out coached and out schemed all in all season long in 2013, and I'm ready for that to come to a stop.
Well, our last two are offensive coordinators, and one is 49ers offensive coordinator Greg Roman. Now, I don't know a lot about Roman, but I know that offense from the 49ers, and I know that they're dynamic and explosive.
They're creative.
I know they love to run the ball.
Yeah. They're creative, and I heard he was the guy who helped bring along Colin Kaepernick.
Oh, definitely.
So when we draft Johnny Manziel, he he will know what to do with him on the Vikings roster.
It's possible. Yeah. It's very possible. Yeah. And our last guy is the guy that we talked about at the opening of the show, Ken Wisenhunt, offensive coordinator for the Chargers.
Mm-hmm. Former head.
He is a guy that everybody seems to be buzzing over right now because the fans want an offensive-minded head coach because they are just not pleased with what they've seen from the Vikings on the offensive side of the ball.
I would be fine with Ken Wisenhunt. I think he got kind of a raw deal there in Arizona. You know, you go from having Hall of Famer Kurt Warner as your quarterback to having, what was it, Matt Leinart the next season, and then Kevin Cobb. And just it's like they didn't give him the correct pieces really to succeed there in terms of quarterback, and then got rid of him. And I like him as a head coach. And what could scare him off coming from Minnesota? No quarterback.
No quarterback yet. Yeah. But he gets to pick his guy if he comes in, pretty much. So it's pretty interesting.
You have to have long talk with Spielman. Whoever it is going to have a long talk with Rick Spielman about our head coach, the quarterback position, and make sure that these guys are on the exact same page for what the team is going to do.
Absolutely.
Because that was part of Leslie Frazier's undoing, was, him making the push to bring in Donovan McNabb when Donovan McNabb was washed up and past his prime. And it's like that butted heads with the Spielman philosophy, and they never quite seem to be on the same page with what to do. And it's going to be really important for whoever comes in to be on the same page.
Well, that's all we have for the coaching candidates for the Minnesota Vikings so far. I'm sure this list will either be expanded or narrowed down next week, so we have something to look forward to there. But that's all I have for this week. Do you have anything else you'd like to
add? No, I think we can save anything else for next week's show.
That's good. Keep them in suspense. Yeah. I like it.
We'll have some topic will come up. It always does.
Some quick hints and leave a prize at them or something.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Remember to check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Check me out on the Viking Age. I got some good articles up on there. Lots of good info. And thanks again for listening, and stay classy, Minnesota.